Grok 3.
It seems like Elon Musk and his xAI team are going for something way more ambitious with this, like
Big brain mode.
scientific research or
AI-driven healthcare. Spark of genius and its ability to come up with these unexpected and innovative ideas. All right, let's dive into some really cool tech today. You've sent us a bunch of articles and even some heated Reddit threads all about this new AI called Grok 3. And you want the inside scoop, right? You want to know what makes it so special, how it compares to the big names like ChatGPT, and whether all this hype is actually for real.
Yeah, it's interesting. One thing that stands out to me is that Grok 3 isn't just trying to be another chatbot. It seems like Elon Musk and his xAI team are going for something way more ambitious with this, like an AI that can actually help us understand the universe.
Oh, that's a pretty big goal.
Yeah.
And from what I'm seeing in these articles, they might actually be pulling it off. One developer on Reddit was saying how Grok 3 helped them solve this super complicated coding problem that they'd been stuck on for weeks.
Yeah, and that really speaks to one of Grok 3's key features, which is think mode. Instead of just, spitting out answers, it can actually break down problems step by step, almost like, a human would, but obviously with a lot more processing power behind it.
So it's like having a super smart partner in crime to help you tackle tough challenges. I like that. But then I'm also seeing something called big brain mode mentioned in these articles, which sounds even more intense.
Exactly. You can think of it like shifting gears from, just a quick brainstorm session to a deep dive research project. Big brain mode is there for the really heavy lifting, like scientific research or building those complex simulations.
Okay, so we have all these different modes for different tasks, but what about those everyday things that people use AI for? Like finding information quickly and making sure it's reliable. Does Grok 3 do a good job with that?
Right, and that's where deep search comes in. It's essentially a built-in search engine that allows Grok 3 to verify the information it's finding so it can give you, more accurate and reliable results.
So, if I'm researching a historical event, deep search isn't just pulling up the typical Wikipedia page, it's doing something more.
Way more. It's not just finding information, it's also cross-referencing it with countless other sources, all in real time, to weed out those inaccuracies and biases.
That's pretty impressive. And it kind of ties into another big thing I'm seeing in these articles, which is Grok 3's ability to learn in real time.
Yeah.
So unlike other AIs that are stuck with data from a certain date, Grok 3 is constantly being updated, even pulling in information from X, which was, formerly Twitter.
Right, exactly. And that constant stream of data allows Grok 3 to really stay up to date with the latest developments and adapt to a world that's changing so quickly. It's a huge advantage over those AIs that are essentially frozen in time.
Now, this whole real-time learning thing, it does make me wonder about the potential for bias creeping in because, we all know X can be a bit of a Wild West sometimes.
For sure, it's a valid concern. And it's something that, developers are very much aware of and are actively working on filtering out that misinformation and making sure the data that Grok 3 is learning from is, accurate and unbiased. That's a massive challenge.
Speaking of challenges, one article mentioned Grok 3 being trained on this massive supercomputer called Colossus, which sounds like something straight out of a sci-fi movie. Is that kind of firepower really necessary?
Well, you got to think about it, right? If Grok 3 is processing all this information from the internet in real time, and on top of that, running all these complex calculations and simulations, it needs some serious computing power to keep up. And that's where Colossus comes in. With its 200,000 NVIDIA GPUs, it's like the high-octane fuel for Grok 3,
That's mind-blowing. It really shows just how resource-intensive it is to develop these advanced AIs. But let's be honest, what everyone really wants to know is, does Grok 3 actually live up to all the hype?
Right, that's the big question. And from what I'm seeing in these benchmarks and test scores, it seems like Grok 3 is just crushing the competition, especially in areas like math, coding, and science. But benchmarks, they only tell part of the story.
Yeah, for sure. And I'm also seeing a lot of developers in this Reddit thread saying that Grok 3 isn't just about crunching numbers. They're using it for all sorts of creative tasks, generating music or coming up with unique business ideas. One user even said it helped them write a whole screenplay.
That's what's so fascinating about Grok 3, right? It's not just a one-trick pony, you know? It's
Yeah.
got this versatility that has a lot of people saying it could be a real game changer in the world of AI. But of course, we need to be careful about, jumping to conclusions too quickly.
Okay, so we've got this incredibly powerful AI that can tackle complex problems, learns in real time, and can even get creative. But how do people actually get their hands on it? Is it available to everyone, or is it still in some kind of like limited testing phase?
Right, so there are a few ways to access Grok 3 right now. If you're a Premium Plus subscriber on X, then you've got it right there at your fingertips. They're also rolling out a standalone web interface and an iOS app, although there are some restrictions in certain regions like the EU and UK.
Right, and then there's that Super Grok subscription, which sounds like the VIP access pass to all the coolest features. But what about developers who want to, like, integrate Grok 3 into their own projects? Any news on that front?
There's been a lot of buzz about a Grok 3 API coming out soon, which would be huge for developers, right? Imagine being able to tap into all that AI power and build a whole new generation of applications. The possibilities are pretty mind-blowing.
Okay, so we've covered a lot of ground here, but I feel like we're just, scratching the surface of what Grok 3 is all about. It's
Yeah.
a really complex beast. Where do we even go from here?
I think the next step is to move beyond just, the technical specs and really dive into what all of this means. How is this technology going to shape different industries? How will it change the way we work and even affect our everyday lives?
Those are some big questions, and I have a feeling we're only just beginning to grasp the implications of this whole new AI era.
Yeah.
It's funny, right? We talk about, like, AI changing the world, but in a way, it's already happening. Like, think about how much we already rely on AI in our daily lives. You've got your personalized recommendations, your voice assistants, all that stuff. And now Grok 3 seems to be, like, taking things to a whole new level.
Yeah, absolutely. And while it's super exciting to think about all the potential benefits, I think we also have to acknowledge the potential downsides too. Like one of the articles you sent mentioned Grok 3 being used to create those unauthorized deepfakes of public figures. It's a reminder that any powerful technology, well, it can be misused.
Yeah, that's a little unsettling for sure. Makes you wonder, like, how do we make sure something as powerful as Grok 3 is used responsibly, especially with all that real-time data coming in from X, which can be, well.
Right. And I think one key aspect of that is transparency. We need to be able to understand how these AI models are being trained, what data they're using, and how those outputs are generated. That kind of transparency allows for scrutiny and helps us identify potential biases or risks.
It sounds like there needs to be like a balance between, encouraging innovation and making sure there are safeguards in place.
Yeah.
But who's actually responsible for setting those boundaries? Is it governments? Is it the tech companies themselves? Or maybe even the users?
I think it's going to require a collaborative effort, really. You've got governments that need to establish clear regulations, and then you have tech companies that need to prioritize ethical development.
Yeah.
And then users also need to be educated about, the potential risks and how to use these tools responsibly.
That makes a lot of sense. We can't just assume technology will automatically be used for good, right? We have to be proactive in shaping how it's developed and deployed. Speaking of deployment, you mentioned earlier that Grok 3 is already being used in a bunch of different ways, and one article highlighted its potential in business intelligence.
Yeah, exactly. So imagine you have access to real-time data about market trends, customer sentiment, or even what your competitors are up to. Grok 3 could completely change how businesses make decisions and give them a serious competitive edge.
I can see how that would be super valuable. But I also wonder about the potential for job displacement. If AI can analyze all this data and make predictions faster and more accurately than humans, what happens to all the people who are currently doing those jobs?
That's a valid concern, and it's definitely a conversation we need to be having as a society. The reality is the rise of AI is probably going to lead to some job displacement, but it's also going to create new opportunities, right?
Yeah.
So we need to be focusing on retraining and upskilling the workforce to prepare for these changes.
It seems like adaptability is going to be key, both for individuals and for businesses. Now, going back to those Reddit threads, there was a lot of debate about Grok 3's coding capabilities. Some users were really praising it, while others felt it wasn't quite as good as some other models out there. What's your take on that?
From what I've seen, it seems like Grok 3's strength in coding comes from its ability to understand those really complex problems and then break them down into manageable steps, which is where think mode really shines. but it might not be as efficient, for simpler tasks or for certain coding languages where other specialized models might do a better job.
Yeah, one user even mentioned that ChatGPT was better at understanding blueprints from Unreal Engine than Grok 3, which is interesting. It reminds us that even the most advanced AI still has its limitations.
Right.
It's not going to be the perfect tool for every single job.
Exactly. I think we need to move away from this idea of trying to find the ultimate AI and recognize that different models are going to have different strengths and weaknesses, right? So it's more about choosing the right tool for the job at hand.
And maybe even more importantly, it's about understanding how to use those tools effectively, right? Like knowing how to prompt the AI, how to interpret its outputs, and being able to critically evaluate the information it's giving you.
Totally. It's like any other skill. The more you practice and understand the nuances, the more value you're going to get out of it. And that goes for any AI model, not just Grok 3.
One thing that keeps coming up in these discussions is the philosophical implications of AI. If machines can learn and reason and even create, what does that mean for our understanding of intelligence and consciousness?
Those are some deep questions. And honestly, we don't have all the answers yet. The development of AI is really making us rethink some of our fundamental definitions of what it means to be human.
It's both exciting and kind of intimidating at the same time, wouldn't you say?
I think it's a fair assessment, but it's a conversation we need to have.
Right.
We can't shy away from the philosophical and ethical challenges that AI presents.
One article even suggested that AI could eventually surpass human intelligence, leading to what's called the singularity. Do you think that's actually a realistic possibility?
I mean, the idea of the singularity is definitely fascinating, but it's also highly speculative, right? We're still a long way from creating AI that can truly replicate the full range of human capabilities, including things like emotions, creativity, and self-awareness.
But even if we never reach that point of singularity, the advancements we're already seeing in AI are having a huge impact on society, right? And one area that's particularly interesting is healthcare.
Imagine a world where AI can analyze medical images more accurately than human doctors, or personalize treatment plans based on individual genetic profiles, or even assist with those really complex surgeries.
It sounds like something straight out of a futuristic medical drama. But these possibilities are becoming more and more realistic every day.
Yeah, and it's not just about improving healthcare outcomes, right? AI also has the potential to play a major role in drug discovery, disease prevention, and even mental health support.
It seems like the potential applications of AI in healthcare are pretty much limitless. But again, we have to consider the ethical implications. How do we make sure these technologies are being used fairly, equitably, and in a way that benefits everyone, not just a select few?
That's where things get a little tricky, right? We have to be really mindful of potential biases in the data that's used to train these AI models. We also have to ensure that access to these technologies is equitable, and we need to prioritize human oversight and decision-making in those critical areas, like healthcare.
It sounds like transparency, accountability, and a focus on human values are going to be crucial as we navigate this new era of AI-driven healthcare.
Absolutely. We need to remember that AI is a tool, and like any tool, it can be used for good or for bad, right? So it's up to us to make sure it's used in a way that benefits humanity as a whole.
You've mentioned bias a few times now.
Yeah.
Is that something you're actually seeing evidence of in Grok 3 specifically?
It's tough to say for sure without really deep access to the data and the training methods they're using, but it's something we should always be watching out for with any AI system, right? Bias can creep in through the data itself, the algorithms that process that data, or even just the way humans interact with the AI.
So what are some steps that can be taken to mitigate this potential bias in Grok 3 and other AI systems?
Well, it starts with making sure the data sets used for training are diverse. They need to represent a wide range of perspectives and experiences. And we also need to develop algorithms that are specifically designed to detect and correct for bias.
And probably some kind of ongoing monitoring and evaluation too, right? To make sure
Yep.
the AI isn't picking up harmful biases over time as it learns from new data.
Exactly. It's not a one-time fix. It requires ongoing vigilance and a real commitment to fairness and equity throughout the entire lifespan of an AI system.
One of the things I find most fascinating about all of this is the potential for creativity. We've talked about Grok 3 being used for coding and data analysis, but I'm also seeing examples of it composing music, writing poetry, and even generating original artwork.
Yeah, the creative potential of AI is pretty mind-blowing. It's definitely challenging our traditional ideas about what it means to be creative, and it's really blurring the lines between human and machine artistry.
One article even described Grok 3 as having a spark of genius in its ability to come up with these unexpected and innovative ideas. Do you think AI could actually rival human creativity someday?
That's a great question.
Yeah.
And while AI can definitely generate some really impressive and novel outputs, it's still largely driven by algorithms and data, right? Human creativity, on the other hand, is often fueled by things like emotions, intuition, and lived experiences.
That's a good point. There's a certain depth and complexity to human creativity that AI might struggle to truly replicate. But then again, who knows what the future holds,
Yeah.
right?
Exactly. The field of AI is moving so fast that it's impossible to predict what kind of breakthroughs are just around the corner. We might be surprised by what these machines are capable of creating.
Speaking of surprises, one Reddit user shared a story about how they asked Grok 3 to design a new type of cooking utensil. Right?
Yeah.
And they said the result was so innovative and practical that they were actually thinking about patenting the idea.
That's a perfect example of how AI can actually enhance human creativity, right? It's not about replacing human ingenuity. It's about providing new tools and perspectives that can spark inspiration and lead to those groundbreaking ideas.
It was more like a collaboration between humans and machines, each bringing their own unique strengths to the table.
Exactly. And I think that's really the key to harnessing the power of AI in a way that benefits humanity. It's not about humans versus machines. It's about humans and machines working together to achieve something truly extraordinary.
Yeah, I love that perspective. It's not about being afraid of the rise of the machines. It's about embracing the potential for collaboration and innovation. But let's be realistic here. Not everyone is going to be on board with this idea of working alongside AI. Some people might even see it as a threat.
Oh, for sure. Change can be unsettling, especially when you're talking about something as transformative as AI. There will always be people who resist progress. But I believe that as people become more familiar with AI and how it works, they'll start to see it as a tool that can actually enhance their lives, not replace them.
It sounds like education and open dialogue are going to be really important for addressing those fears and misconceptions.
Yeah.
We need to make sure people understand how AI works, what it can do, and how it can be used responsibly.
Definitely. We need to demystify AI and make it accessible to everyone, not just the tech experts, right? That means breaking down those complex concepts into language that everyone can understand and providing real-world examples of how AI is being used to solve problems and make people's lives better.
We've covered a lot of ground in this conversation, from the technical details of Grok 3 to the broader societal and ethical implications of AI.
Yeah.
I feel like we've only just scratched the surface, but we're starting to get a sense of the immense potential and also the challenges that AI brings.
Exactly. And I think it's important to remember that this is just the beginning, AI is a field that's constantly evolving, and we can expect to see even more amazing breakthroughs in the years to come.
It really feels like an exciting time to be alive, but it's also a time for careful consideration and responsible development. We need to make sure we're guiding the development of AI in a direction that benefits everyone. It really does feel like we're at this turning point with AI. It's like we're standing at the bottom of this huge mountain. We can see this incredible view ahead of us, but we also know there are going to be challenges and maybe even some dangerous spots along the way.
That's a great way to put it. And it really highlights why it's so important to approach this whole AI thing with a mix of enthusiasm and caution. We need to be bold and explore what's possible, but also be aware of, what could go wrong.
One of the articles you sent over really got me thinking about the future of education. You talked about how AI could personalize learning, give students instant feedback, and even create these interactive simulations that make those tough concepts easier to grasp.
It's a pretty exciting idea. Imagine a classroom where every student has their own personalized AI tutor, one that adapts to their learning style and how fast they learn AI. Could also free up teachers from those repetitive tasks and let them focus on mentoring, encouraging creativity, and building stronger relationships with their students.
Sounds amazing, both for students and teachers. But of course, there are also concerns about relying too much on technology and whether it could actually widen the gap between students who have access to these resources and those who don't.
Right. That's definitely something to consider. We need to make sure that if AI is used in education, it's done in a way that's thoughtful and fair. It should be about supporting human interaction and encouraging a love of learning, not just about getting good grades.
And what about the role of AI in those creative fields? We talked about this a bit earlier, but I'm curious to hear your thoughts on whether AI could actually become a true artist, musician, or writer,
That's a question that always sparks a lot of debate. AI can definitely produce some technically impressive stuff, but it often lacks that, like, emotional depth, that originality, and maybe even that soul that we connect with in human art.
Yeah, there's something about human creativity that's hard to explain, let alone recreate in a machine. But who knows, maybe AI will surprise us someday.
Maybe. I think we need to be open to the possibilities without, like, forgetting what makes human creativity so special. Maybe AI will become this powerful tool for collaboration. It could push artists and creators to explore new things and expand their own creative potential.
It's fascinating to think about how human and artificial intelligence could work together in the world of art. But let's switch gears for a minute and talk about something a bit more practical, like the impact of AI on jobs. We've all heard those predictions about, robots taking over and everyone losing their jobs. Is it really going to be as bad as some people say?
Honestly, it's a complicated issue, and there are no easy answers. Some jobs will definitely be automated, especially those that involve a lot of repetitive tasks or data processing. But new jobs will also be created, and those will require skills in areas like AI development, data analysis, and how humans and machines can work together.
So it's not necessarily that jobs are going to disappear. It's more like they're going to change, right? And that means we need to adapt.
Exactly. We need to focus on, like, education and training programs that give people the skills they need to succeed in this new world where AI is playing a bigger role. It's all about lifelong learning and being able to adjust to new situations.
One thing that I think often gets overlooked in these conversations about AI is the importance of ethics. Like, how do we make sure that AI is developed and used in a way that's aligned with, like, our values as humans?
That's a really important point. We need to move beyond just focusing on what AI can do and start thinking more about what it should do, right? That means coming up with clear ethical guidelines for how AI is developed and used, making sure things are transparent and accountable, and addressing issues like bias and discrimination.
It sounds like we almost need a new set of rules for this age of AI. But, like, who gets to decide what those rules are? And how do we make sure everyone follows them?
It's going to take a group effort, that's for sure. You'll need governments, tech companies, researchers, people who study ethics, and even the general public. We all need to talk about the values we want to build into our AI systems and what kind of future we want to create.
It's a huge responsibility, but it's also an amazing opportunity to, like, shape the future in a way that benefits everyone. And that brings us back to you, our listener. What does all of this mean for you personally?
AI isn't just some far-off idea from science fiction anymore. It's here, it's changing rapidly, and it's going to affect every part of our lives. So it's super important to stay informed, be part of the conversation, and think critically about the role you want AI to play in your own life.
This deep dive has been packed with information and insights, and honestly, I'm both excited and a little overwhelmed by all the possibilities.
I get it. AI is a huge and complicated field, and it's always evolving. But the most important thing is to approach it with a sense of curiosity and a willingness to keep learning. The more we understand about AI, the better prepared we'll be to use its power and shape what it becomes in the future.
Couldn't have said it better myself. So, as we wrap up this episode, what's the one thing you want our listeners to take away from all of this?
I think the biggest takeaway is that the future of AI isn't set in stone, It's something that we're all creating together through the choices we make, the actions we take, and how willing we are to have these thoughtful, informed conversations.
That's a powerful message. And it's a reminder that we all have a part to play in shaping this exciting and, maybe a little bit scary future where AI is becoming more and more important.
Thanks for joining us on this deep dive. We hope we've made you curious and inspired you to keep exploring this amazing world of AI.
Until next time, stay curious, stay informed, and keep asking questions.